Herzlich willkommen Patriots-Fans, wir sind am Ende vom Minicamp, das liegt jetzt hinter uns, die letzten 2-3 Tage war hier viel Betrieb. Wir sprechen jetzt kurz, was hier so genau passiert ist die letzten Tage. Ich mache das mit Deuce, er ist ebenfalls Reporter für die Patriots. Deuce, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
I just said Minicamp is behind us now. What would you say was your biggest takeaway from the past days?
Well, fun to see the team for the first time. That's always the first thing this offseason. We got to look at, I think, 5 practices total. So that was good. I would say my big key takeaway is the defense. I think they're all back, except for Devin McCourty. So returning a lot of players. Thought they were really dynamic in these practices. You can't tell a ton, not a lot of contact, no pads, but they have great depth, I think. And I think that they've got some young rookies in the top trio that they drafted this year that really look like they could have an impact this year. So it looks early on, the defense might be the strength. That's pretty common, though, at this phase of the year when the offense is trying to put it all together.
You just mentioned it, no pads, not a lot of contact. How much can you actually tell after these full practices?
I mean, not a ton, but a little bit, I think, and you can obviously, the first thing is who's here, who's available, who's still recovering from injury. Lawrence Guy was one name that was not here. Trent Brown wasn't the first day of mini camp. He did arrive, had some travel issues. So for the most part, I think attendance has been really good. But what can you tell from it? You can start to see the pieces being built and the foundation that they're putting, especially on defense where they're mixing and matching. I mean, they kind of picked up where they left off last year. And of course, the offense, Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator. So they're installing a new system. It looks like they know what they're doing. Everybody seems like they're on the same page early on, but you're going to have some growing pains here in the summer as the offense tries to, get some things going. They also were missing a couple receivers that I think made things a little bit harder on them.
Any big surprises for you? Any players overperformed, underperformed? What did you see in that regard?
Well, I think it's a pleasant surprise anytime you have rookies that are involved. And I think everybody might have been a little bit surprised when the Patriots went rookies with those first 3 picks. But I thought all 3, Christian Gonzalez, Keon White, Marte Mapu, were all involved in the top defense, in and out. A lot of rotation going on. But still, I'm going to highlight, I know Evan Lazar, my colleague, he loves Marte Mapu. I do too. He's kind of that player we've been wondering, will they pick up a guy like this who kind of blurs the line between linebacker and safety? He's able to play all over that second level, even back on the third level. So I think it just gives them more versatility. I was surprised to see him as heavily involved as he was.
You also mentioned Bill O'Brien, the new offensive coordinator. How did you see him? How active was he? What was his role in these practices?
Well, really interesting. I mean, Bill O'Brien was a head coach for a long time with the Texans, so clearly he was then with Alabama. The guy knows what he's doing. He has an offense. He knows what he's looking for. But it was a lot different than last year in that he just kind of sits on the sidelines with the walkie-talkie, radios the calls into Mac. There wasn't a whole lot of corrections or conversations going on in between the plays. So I look at that as a good thing. It seems like they're at least executing it at a base level of what he wants. He's not losing his mind, getting mad at everybody. This isn't what I'm looking for. So I think that the strides were positive. But like I said, Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't there. Tyquan Thornton, who young, promising second-year receiver, was not there either. So those are 2 guys that bring a dynamic element. Really want to see what they look like in the offense.
Let's stick with Juju for a second. Are you worried that he wasn't here? How does it go with the chemistry with Mac and all that? How do you see that?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I mean, first of all, he's a veteran, so he does have a baseline, understanding. He played in Pittsburgh, he played in Kansas City, well-established offenses, so he knows what he's doing. Still, you'd love to get him out here, and you wonder what is the injury that is kind of keeping him off the field. Is it a lingering issue from last year? He has had some injury issues, so I do think it's a little bit of a concern. However, if we get out there, week 1, training camp at the end of July, he's out there, I think he'll be okay.
Last question, Deuce. What's next for the team? When do they report back? What are the next weeks going to look like?
Yeah, well, this is the time. Vacation. Mini camp ends. Vacation begins. This is the month. The whole NFL shuts down. Everybody's heading off to tropical destinations. But usually the last week of July is when training camp will be open. Check out Patriots.com. We'll be sure to announce what those sessions will look like, usually in the morning. But if you're in the States, you want to come on down. It's free. It's on these 2 fields right behind us. It's an awesome time. You really get an up-close look at all the players, what's going on, contact, even joint practices at times that happen back here that are outstanding. So it's a really great time. But until then, we'll all be chilling. But once we get back, it's off on the 2023 season.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deuce. We'll do this again soon in German next time. Vielen Dank euch fürs Zuschauen und wir sehen uns bald wieder. Macht's gut.